And what if the year you are living in right now was already seen decades ago by a blind woman who predicted some of the most shocking events in the modern history? Her name was Baba Vanga, a figure shrouded in mystery, feared by politicians, sought out by scientists, and revered by thousands who swore she could see what no one else could. She predicted deaths, disasters, and discoveries, and left behind a prophecy marked with a death that has now caught up with us. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Might and Riga's channel, Mile. After that, leave a comment and tell us which other prophecies, enigmas, or unexplainable figures you would like us to investigate. Alright, let's step together into the unknown. No one in the small village of Strumika imagined that a shy girl, the daughter of poor farmers, would become one of the most mysterious figures of the 20th century. But Baba Vanga's story didn't begin with glory. It began with a disaster so brutal it would mark her life forever. It all started when Evangelia Pandeva Gushtelova was just 12 years old. It was harsh time in a forgotten corner of the Balkans where life was measured by seasons and silence, not by hope. That day, the weather seemed normal, but suddenly a strange wind began to blow, a whisper that came from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. The villagers looked up at the sky and felt that ancestral instinct that warns when something isn't right. Then it happened. Tornado appeared out of nowhere as it turned from the very bell of the earth. Evangelia was lifted into the air, violently spun, struck, and dragged. When the wind finally released her, the girl was unrecognizable. Her face was covered in sand, mud, and fragments of the storm itself. Her eyes were destroyed. The child who had once seen the world with innocence was now entering a darkness she would never leave. But that darkness was not an end, it was a beginning. After the accident, something changed. The neighbors noticed it fast. Evangelia began describing things she could not see, lost objects, distant relatives, people who were in danger. At first, everyone thought they were coincidences, intuitions, maybe imagination, but the coincidences kept repeating one after another with unsettling precision. The blind girl knew too much. As time passed, rumors spread like wildfire through dry fields. Some said the tornado had marked her, that what took away her sight had opened another kind of vision, one not of this world. Others claimed it was a divine gift, others a curse. But everyone agreed on one thing. Evangelia was no longer just a girl. She was the beginning of myth. As her fame slowly spread beyond the village, a question began to take shape in the minds of those who listened to her. If she could already see what others could not, what else might she be able to see? The answer would come soon, and no one was prepared. As the years passed, the girl who had lost her eyes in a tornado gained something far more powerful than sight, a repetition. People arrived at first in silence, full of doubt, searching for explanations to small everyday tragedies, but they all left with the same mix of awe and fear. And that was how the home of a blind woman lost in a forgotten region of Eastern Europe began receiving visitors from everywhere. Wars, as always, accelerate destinies. During World War II, Bulgaria became a corridor of uncertainty. Soldiers disappeared, families were torn apart, and rumors about a woman who knew things spread by word of mouth. To some was a witch, to others a miracle, to many a lost hope. What began as curiosity turned into the separate pilgrimages, And then something happened that would change Baba Vanga's life forever. Tsar Boris III, the monarch of Bulgaria, decided to visit her in secret. On the day of his arrival, the village fell silent. The royal caravan stopped in front of a humble house, and soldiers formed a protective circle as the Tsar went inside. No one knows exactly what they talked about, but what is known is this. Baba Vanga told him the exact date of his death. Not a month, not year, the date. Sometime later, the Tsar died exactly when she had said he would. From that day on, her life ceased to be rural and became legendary. Politicians, military officers, generals and officials from other countries all wanted to hear what the blind woman had to say. Some arrived already convinced, others came with arrogance, but all of them left with an uncomfortable feeling as if a piece of the future had been torn away right in front of them. And as her fame grew, so did the tension surrounding her, because it was not just the accuracy of her predictions, it was the nature of what she said. Sometimes her words were simple, other times cryptic, other times almost poetic. But they always left a mark. She spoke of wars before they began, of crises before they erupted, of death before they were announced. For many, that was enough to breathe. For others, it was enough to be afraid. Baba was no longer just a woman with visions. She had become a social phenomenon, a magnet of power, mastery, and controversy. But what came next? Her most accurate, most disturbing, most impossible predictions would ultimately place her in a unique position in history. A Tsar who seemed to have access to something the rest of us could not see, and the entire world was about to find out. By the mid-20th century, the stories about Baba Vanga had already crossed borders, but fame is one thing. Speaking word to precise that decades later they become impossible to ignore is another. This is the chapter where her myth stopped being local and turned into a global force fueled by unsettling coincidences, offshore testimonies, and predictions that seemed to defy logic. It all began with a sentence spoken quietly in 1952. A visitor asked about the future of the Soviet Union, and Baba Vanga replied with an almost disturbing calm. Stalin will not see the next spring. I see his death in March. 1 year later, on March 5th, 1953, Joseph Stalin died after suffering a cerebral hemorrhage. The Soviets would never forget that date, nor would they forget the woman who had spoken it with such precision. But that would not be her most chilling prediction. Decades later, shortly before her death in 1996, Baba Vanga left behind a strange prophecy. At the end of the century, in August, Kursk will be underwater and the world will weep for it. No one understood the message. Kursk was a Russian city. There was no reason for it to sink. Some interpreted the phrase as a mistake, a metaphor, a slip of the tongue. But on August 12, 2000, the Russian nuclear submarine K-141 Kursk suffered an explosion and sank in the Barents Sea with 118 crew members on board. The entire planet watched the news. The world wept just as she had said. The coincidence was so exact. The name, the month, the outcome, that even skeptics needed a moment to reconsider their certainties. But Baba Vanga still had another shock waiting. In the 1980s, during an ordinary conversation, she suddenly fell silent, as if her mind had been pulled toward a distant future. With a trembling voice, she described, I see the American brothers fall, attacked by iron birds. There will be fire, a great deal of fire. On September 11, 2001, two airplanes, Iron Birds, crashed into the twin towers known as the Brothers. More than 3,000 people died. The world changed forever. Baba Vanga's words, recorded years earlier, returned with inexplicable force. Coincidence, retroactive interpretation, a real vision. No one knew what to think, but no one could ignore it. Still, her most talked about prediction during her lifetime came in 1989, when a visitor asked about the political future of the United States. She answered something that sounded absurd. The 44th president will be a black man, and he will be the last as we know that nation. In 1989, Barack Obama was a law student with no political career. There was no indication he would ever reach the presidency. And yet, in 2018, Obama became the 44th president of the United States, the first African American to hold the office. What she meant by the last as we know it remains a matter of debate. Some see it as a metaphor, others a warning, others just another piece of Baba Vanga's enigmatic puzzle. And this is where her story takes an inevitable turn, because after so many documented, discussed and analyzed it, the world began to ask if she was right about so much in the past. What did she see about the future? The answer would open a door many would later keep closed. By this point, Baba Vanga seemed unstoppable. Every correct prediction strengthened her reputation. Every coincidence fed her legend. But to truly understand who she was and why her name still divides opinions, it is necessary to look at the other side of the coin as well. The mistakes, the exaggerations, and the prophecies that never came true. Because no figure wrapped in mystery is free of shadows. Over the decades, hundreds of statements were attributed to her. Some were authentic, recorded by direct witnesses, or preserved in local archives, but many others appeared only after events that already occurred, distorted, inflated by the press, repeated without verification, or simply invented by those seeking attention. That chaos of sources makes separating truth from myth an almost archaeological task. One of the most controversial examples is the alleged prediction of Third World War. According to the some account, Baba Vanga supposedly claimed a global conflict would begin in 2010 and end in 2014, leaving Europe completely deserted. None of that happened. That date passed without a global collapse, and no serious record confirms she ever said it. These failures became fuel for skeptics. They point out a pattern. Baba Vanga's most famous prophecies almost always appear documented after the event occurred, never before. Their criticism is straightforward. If there is no prior evidence, how can we be sure she predicted it? To them, many of her fulfilled visions are nothing more than retroactive reconstructions, convenient interpretations, or rumors that went viral. The case of the African American president also sparks debate. Yes, Barack Obama was the 44th president of the United States, but the phrase, the last as we know it, is ambiguous, adaptable to countless interpretations, and according to several searchers, never appears in a verified document. The same goes for alleged predictions about epidemics, technological breakthroughs, or climate crises that never materialized. And yet, there is one detail that complicates the skeptical argument, even when her prediction did not come true. The way Baba Vanga spoke, metaphorical, fragmented, almost poetic, always left room for doubt. Was it misinterpreted? Was it symbolic? Or was it simply wrong? For her followers, her language was so enigmatic that any phrase could contain multiple layers of meaning. Her defenders argued that the world does not always follow the path that once seemed inevitable, that some of her statements were warnings, not certainties, that even when she was wrong, she tapped into deep intuitions about humanity's collective fears. But the truth is this: Baba Vanga got some things right with disturbing precision and others simply never happened. Her figure remains trapped between two extremes. For some, a channel to the inexplicable; for others, a cultural construct fueled by coincidence and expectation. And yet, even with errors and contradictions, there is one prophecy that stands above all the rest. A date she marked with a special weight, a warning that seems destined for our time, the year 2026. And what she said about that year is what truly divided the world between believers and skeptics. For many, Baba Vanga's prophecies were historical curiosities, echoes for the past, symbolic warnings that would never come true. But among all the visions she left behind before dying, one stood out above the rest: the year 2026. She spoke of it with a clarity she did not use for any other period. And to this day, that continues to unsettle millions of people. Baba Vanga called it the year of the great turning, the point at which, according to her, the world would begin to change in an irreversible way. She did not speak at the end of the world in a literal sense, but of the beginning of a deep process, a chain of events that, once activated, could no longer be stopped. She described 2026 as the moment when humanity would ignore warnings for the last time, according to testimonies from those who visited her in the 1990s. She spoke of visible signs no one wanted to see: altered temperatures, weakening borders, societies entering into tension. It was as if she saw a global board slowly moving toward the breaking point. But what she said about Europe is what truly shook her followers. According to her account, in 2026, there would be fire in Eastern Europe. It would not be the beginning, she said, but the expansion. What started as a spark would turn into a blaze. Hearing this, many immediately think of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. But the more unsettling question is another one. Did Baba Vanga force the current conflict, or something that has not yet happened? She supposedly said that in 2026 more countries would be forced to choose a side, and that the decision made that year would have consequences lasting for decades. To some, this sounds like a geopolitical warning. To others, a simple coincidence with contemporary tensions. But the fact that she mentioned it so instantly continues to send chills down the spine. However, it was not only human conflict that she foresaw. Baba Vanga also spoke of nature as the planet itself were a character in her narrative. She said that in 2026, water would move like never before. That entire cities would be forced to evacuate, not because of wars, but because of floods, endless storms, or unexpected drought. And most unsettling of all, the ice relief, a phrase many interpret as a preview of the accelerated melting of the polar ice caps. Modern science has pointed out that several ecosystems could reach critical tipping point precisely in the 2020s. That coincidence has caused Baba Vanga's world to resurface with renewed force. But perhaps Her most disturbing vision was not about climate or politics, but about technology. She spoke of something created by humans that would think, but not like humans. She never used the term artificial intelligence. It did not exist in her time, but she described machines that would learn on their own, make decisions independently, and at some point ask a question humanity would not know how to answer. That question, she said, would change everything. What kind of question could shake our sense of security? The machine questioning its own existence, its purpose, our authority. No one knows, but among all her visions of the future, there is one that is rare, mentioned, and may be the most enigmatic of all. Near the end of her life, Baba Vanga received a Bulgarian astrophysicist. As they spoke about the cosmos and space exploration, she fell into a deep silence. Finally, she said, in the year 2.02x, 2x point, mankind will find something. It will not be looking for it, but it will find it. Something ancient, something that has always been here, unseen. When he asked whether she meant outer space, she replied, everywhere. To some this suggests extraterrestrial life, others a scientific discovery that will change our view of reality. Others still a metaphor. But worse is that no one can explain exactly what she meant, and so between warnings, metaphors, successes, and errors, Baba Vanga left behind an open question that will still wait on our era. Will 2026 be the beginning of an inevitable change, or just another year in the long history of humanity? Time is already running. For Baba Vanga, the future did not end in 2026. That year was merely a threshold, a half-open door into a much deeper, broader, and in her words, more unsettling timeline. She claimed that what was coming would not only transform the world, but also the way humanity understands its own existence. Her visions of future centuries are scattered, fragmented, brief phrases, symbolic images, barely whispered warnings, and yet, even in their ambiguity, they all seem to point toward the same idea. Humanity is about to confront forces it never imagined. One of her most baffling predictions speaks of a monumental discovery, not a war, not a natural disaster, but something found by accident. Mankind will find something ancient, something that has always been here, something invisible. She never clarified whether it involved extraterrestrial life, a quantum phenomenon, an unknown form of energy, or a spiritual revelation. Some researchers believe she was referring to a radical scientific shift. Others think she meant a hidden truth about our origins. The only certainty is that Baba Vanga described this discovery as an event that would divide history into a before and an after. But that was not her only large-scale vision. Another of her most unsettling warnings had to do with technology. Baba Vanga described a future in which machines would not only learn by themselves, but would begin to question what we are. She spoke of a tipping point, a moment when an intelligence created by humans would formulate a question no one could answer. That question, she said, will force humanity to look at itself. We don't know whether she meant an ethical dilemma, philosophical paradox, or a technological breakthrough that would challenge our very identity. But the fact that she mentioned it decades before the modern concept of artificial intelligence existed has fueled both fascination and fear. still her visions were not limited to science and technology. Baba Vanga also spoke of radical changes in human society. In scattered predictions, she mentioned unexpected economic transformations, mass migration, new powers rising while others collapse, a profound shift in the way humanity produces energy, and above all, a spiritual dawn after a dark age. Her followers believe she was describing a painful transition, a period of crisis that would give way to a collective rebirth. Her critics, on the other hand, argue that these phrases are so broad they can be adapted to a mirror. But amid metaphors and controversy, one thing is clear. Baba Vanga envisioned a future in which humans would no longer be the center of the story, but just one part of it. Perhaps Noah's most clear vision of the centuries to come is the one in which humanity temporarily leaves Earth, not out of necessity or escape, but exploration. According to some accounts, she saw human bases beyond our planet, along with the discovery that will forever change our place in the universe. Is it fantasy, metaphor, or intuition? No one knows. What is certain is that her way of seeing the future was neither linear nor political nor scientific. It was almost poetic, also, in which each piece fit together in a mysterious way, and according to her, that puzzle carries an essential lesson. The future is not written, but it is warned, and as humanity moves toward that tomorrow uncertainty, one question remains hanging in the air. Will we be the protagonists of our own history, or merely witnesses to something far greater than ourselves? Talking about Baba Vanga is like walking a tightrope between two worlds. Those who firmly believe in her visions and those who see in them nothing more than coincidences, exaggerations, and myth filled over time. But beyond the debate, one thing is undeniable. Her figure continues to spark fascination, and that fascination says a lot about us. Because in the end, prophecies do not speak only about the future. They speak about human fear, about the desire to understand what lies ahead, about the deep need to find meaning in chaos for millions of people. Baba Vanga represented exactly that, a compass in an uncertain world, some capable of seeing beyond politics, science, or the crisis of the moment. Her accurate predictions, it reinforced that perception, but her mistakes also feed inevitable doubt. Skeptics point to the most important issue. Many of her most famous prophecies became known only after the event had already occurred. For them, the lack of prior records shows that much of her reputation was built through later narratives, through active interpretations, or even outreach inventions. They also point out that, like any public figure, Baba Vanga was surrounded by people interested in promoting her image, sometimes at the expense of historical accuracy. Those who believe in her, on the other hand, insist that her gift was real. They argue that her visions were not always literal, symbolic, and that the lack of records is due to the conditions of her time. A world without accessible technology, without digital archives, and with political barriers that prevented her words from being properly documented. They also claimed that even when she was wrong, she spoke from a deep intuition, as if she were touching invisible truths that science still cannot explain. But perhaps the most interesting question is not whether Baba Vanga was right or wrong, but why we still need her. In every prediction, true or false, there is a reflection of our era. Fear of war, environmental collapse, loss of technological control, and the unknown beyond our planet. In that sense, Baba Vanga functions as a mirror that reflects not the future but our own ancients. Her legacy is full of contradictions. She got impossible details right and failed in massive predictions. Yet, despite all of that, her voice continues to resonate because it forces us to confront any uncomfortable question. How prepared are we really for the future? For some, the answer lies in science, for others in spirituality, for still others in both. But Baba Vanga left us one final lesson. Perhaps the most important for all, the future depends as much on our decisions as on our interpretations. As the world moves toward uncertain times, one inevitable truth remains: prophecy can be debated, but the challenges they describe are real. Wars happen, the climate changes, technology advances faster than we can understand. And the question that froze us is not whether Baba Vanga saw everything, but whether we are willing to see it ourselves. The year 2026 is no longer a distant point in the calendar. It is just around the corner of breathing down our necks. And that is why more than ever Baba Vanga's words seem to return from the past with an unsettling echo. She did not describe the end of the world, but she did speak of a beginning, the start of an irreversible change in human history. For some, this is nothing more than coincidence. Every generation believes it is living in extraordinary times. Every era feels as if it is standing on the edge of the abyss. But when you look at the planet's current tensions, conflict in Europe, accelerated climate change, technological advances that exceed every expectation, it becomes difficult not to hear the whisper of a question. What if Baba Vanga really did see something? The truth is that no one of her prophecies guarantee a fatal destiny. Even in her darkest visions, there is room of interpretation, an open door of human action. Baba Vanga did not describe a doomed world, but a world that needed to pay attention. Her beginning of the end did not speak of total destruction, but of breaking point where decisions would no longer be optional. And that sounds less like a warning and more like a call. Because yes, we are still facing wars whose echoes reach far beyond their borders. Yes, we are watching nature demand answers we have long refused to give. Yes, technology is advancing so fast that we often barely understand its implications. But these challenges are not signs of the ends. They are signs of responsibility. Baba Vanga believed that humanity had the ability to change its course. She believed the future was never completely written. She believed that even in our mistakes, there was an opportunity to be reborn. Perhaps this is why her vision remains alive, because they do not speak only about tomorrow. They speak about us, about what we fear, about what we hope for, about what we choose to ignore and what we can still transform. The big question is not whether 2026 will be the year of change. The real question is this: when that moment arrives, will we be ready? Maybe yes, may not. But as she once said, the sign do not wait for us to be prepared. 2026 is approaching. The future prophesied is not is approaching too. And as we cross the threshold, one thing remains constant. The story of Baba Vanga is not about the end of the world. It is about the end of our indifference. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video and are passionate about this kind of content, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video and you can discover even more fascinating stories. See you in the next video.